Well, good evening. This is always an exciting time to connect on a Wednesday night, and I trust that you are excited about the session that we're going to have this evening, because after all, who does not want a blessing? And tonight we're going to be talking about that very subject, and joining me in the panel after this evening session is going to be Marvin from Pretoria and Henny from Johannesburg, South Africa, and I'm looking forward to their insights. We are looking forward to great blessings, and I think one of the big things about blessings is that if you really want, they can be double. So tonight I'm going to be sharing a double blessing with you, and anybody who knows how I prepare my talks and deliver them will probably be anticipating what I mean by a double blessing, especially when I show you the first point this evening. You know, what's interesting about blessing is that what usually is the result of blessing is breakthrough, and not just breakthrough in a sense, but it's breakthrough the barriers that might be holding you back right now. And very often, these barriers that we see or envisage or just wish would go away are imagined barriers. They don't even exist except in the dark recesses of our mind. So breakthrough is something that we can certainly experience, and we will often define that as a blessing of some kind. And sometimes when we talk about blessing, it literally means an unexpected breakthrough that we have with something that maybe we've been struggling with or working through for a period of time. And so I'm not sure where you're at right now. I was hearing somebody share the idea of being stuck in the membrane, the barrier, the place between the comfort zone and beyond the comfort zone, you know, kind of stuck in the solid part that you feel like you can't move. I want to just encourage you today and say to you that there is something that you need to be doing in terms of preparing for your blessing, for your breakthrough, the breakthrough through that barrier. And that is to start building within you a boldness, building that self-belief that this situation that you find yourself in, that you're looking at, and by the way, if you're looking at a situation, a challenge, a what else do we talk about? Problems, we talk about issues, all of these things. If you're busy looking at that, you're looking in the wrong place. And so those words don't exist except the ones that we create. So when it comes to breakthrough and breaking through those barriers, it requires you to make a shift with your beliefs. You know, begin to believe that the breakthrough has already come. And, you know, as soon as you begin to believe that, the breakthrough seems to appear from nowhere. And so blessing is often disguised as or defined as a breakthrough. Another thing when it comes to blessing is that we suddenly experience that limitations are lifted. I mean, all those things that seem to be holding you back. I hear often people talk about, if only I have the education, if only I have the opportunity, if only somebody would accept my proposal, if only I was in a different country, if only I spoke a different language, if only I had a different bodysuit. When blessing comes, my friend, limitations are lifted. None of those things matter anymore. You start experiencing the favor that comes with blessing. Doors open where there seem to be no doors at all. And so I want to encourage you just to keep knocking, because when you keep knocking, what may seem an impossibility, suddenly you experience that all resistance crumbles and the very wall before you falls down. The image that I have in my mind right now was the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. And if anybody is joining us this evening that is of my age group, you will remember the significance of that. I remember it because it was the very year that I got married. And so it is a significant time in my life, and so many things happened. I thought the Berlin Wall came crashing down as a result of my marriage. I don't know what is happening in your life at that time, but that certainly was a breakthrough. An unexpected limitation was lifted. People had the freedom once more to move through and engage with others. And I want to say to you that perhaps in relationships, maybe there's been some form of limitation. When blessing comes, restoration happens. But often the blessing is preceded by some state of or feeling of lack, perhaps a feeling of loss. And so if you're in that place right now where you feel like you lack something or you've lost something, then become expectant. The blessing is coming, because we often don't experience or recognize the blessing when there isn't a state of lack or loss in our life. So if you're at that place, you are ready for a blessing. When the blessing comes, it's an engaging experience. I can imagine right now that you have experienced blessing in your life. Maybe you've even shared stories with others about the blessings that you have experienced. You may even have attributed these blessings to God's favor in your life. I don't know what you have experienced, but what I do know is when a blessing comes, it engages you in a way that nothing else can. It's almost like something divine in nature. And that blessing that engages your whole being is the result often of an expectant heart. It doesn't matter where you are right now, what place you find yourself in. I want to encourage you to be expectant. Be ready. I've chosen to serve a God who loves me, who wants to bless me in many ways. That's my choice. I hope that you have made the same choice. And if you have, then expect that blessing to come your way. It might not come in your timing. It usually catches you by surprise. And so be expectant. Be expectant. I think when it comes to blessing, it provides, I've used the word sight security. And for me, sight security is having clarity of vision. I used the word, what's necessary for sight security is vision vitality. And maybe vision is vital. Vision is key to breakthrough. Vision is key to limitations being lifted. It's the person with vision who's able to see beyond the things that are holding them back. They are able to see through walls. They are able to see beyond the present into the future. So to experience blessing in your life, I think it is necessary for you to have a vision that goes beyond your current circumstance, your current situation, your current problems, your current space that you find yourself in, into a new future. Ignite your vision. Of course, there's two S's in blessing. So it is going to result, I believe, in a significant shift. When your blessing comes, it's going to shift you in a way that nothing else can. You are going to be so surprised by this blessing that it's going to get you to see the world and the future in a different way. It's going to enable you to see people differently. It's going to move you from focusing inwardly and being stuck with the me, myself, and I syndrome, and shift your thoughts, ideas, and need to help onto others. You're going to become others focused. You're going to lie awake at night excited by what you are going to be able to do. You see, when a blessing comes, you will suddenly realize that you have been blessed to be a blessing. On that point, if Map for Life has blessed you in any way, take it and give it to someone else. Be a blessing. Bless somebody with it. Because, you know, when you do, the greatest thing when you give, you get back over and over. So if Map for Life has been a blessing to you in any way, take the opportunity and recognize the fact that you have been blessed to be a blessing, and go and bless someone else. You know, when you shift from to significance, or when you experience a significant shift, it's preceded by an act of surrender, a shift from to selflessness, a shift to being of service, a shift to be willing to share with others. This is the significant shift that comes with blessing. And I'm just imagining that right now. Man, if you just could see what I see beyond the wall, if you could see the future that is coming, you're going to start preparing and getting ready for the significant shift that's going to happen in your life. You know, I saw a picture of an earthquake that recently took place, where the olive grove was split in two by a chasm 50 meters deep or whatever it was, and wide. That's the kind of thing that you're going to be able to experience. There's going to be such a dramatic change in your life that the old life is going to be unrecognizable compared to the new. That blessing is coming your way. Get ready for it. Get excited about it. Expect it to happen. When the rumbling takes place, when the shaking happens, just know that your blessing is coming. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared by it. I'm trusting tonight. I'm trusting right now in this moment that your blessing is going to come, and it's going to be heard in such a significant way, man, that not only you are going to be aware and awestruck by the blessing that has come your way, but everybody around you is going to recognize the shift that has taken place. The people in your community are going to see the blessing. Not only are they going to see the blessing in your life, but they're going to experience the overflow of that blessing in their life. This is the significant shift of blessing. You know, when I was thinking about blessing, I realized that when you are blessed, it inspires your imagination. It takes it to a whole new level. It raises your gaze. You begin to see further than you ever saw before. You realize that impossibilities are definitely possible. It shifts you in a way that you are able to imagine greater things. And you know, I'm reminded that my imagination, however great and amazing I might think it is, it doesn't even come close to what God has planned through me and through you. That's the amazing thing about imagination. So when blessing comes, it inspires you to shift your imagination up a gear, to think bigger, to think greater, to think the impossible. Because imagination is all about bringing the impossible into the possible, bringing the invisible into the visible, bringing the unseen into the seen. I mean, imagination works miracles, and blessings inspire imagination. I believe that when you receive this blessing that is coming your way, get ready, get ready, get ready. Blessing ready is the title of tonight's talk. When this blessing comes, it's going to be noteworthy news. I use the word noteworthy news because most news that we hear today is actually of a negative nature. But this news is going to be good news. It's going to be news that you've been waiting to hear your whole life. It's going to be such good news that it is noteworthy, worth talking about, worth sharing, worth telling the world about. I'm just realizing that you're listening tonight, and maybe deep down in your heart, you are wishing that you could experience this blessing. And I want to just encourage you that, right today, right this minute, tonight, while you're sleeping, your blessing can come. I think of David, the runt of the litter. A person comes to meet his father and says, "Where are your sons? I'm here to anoint a king today." And he lines up the sons, and they're all standing there, handsome and tall, and goes through all of these people, and none of them fit the bill. None of them speak to his heart. And he says, "Listen, do you perhaps have any other sons?" And the father says, oh yes, I forgot. There's one that's out there looking after the sheep, but he's really not very much. And so they send for him, and he comes. He's the short little guy, and he shifts from being a shepherd boy, from being somebody who's kind of an outcast in a sense in the family. In an instant, he is anointed as king. And so I want to say to you today, on a day like today, you could have woken up as a shepherd boy, but you could be going to sleep tonight as a king. When your blessing comes, it is noteworthy, without any doubt. And if you take a look at the words I put there, it's something that happens all of a sudden, out of the blue, unexpected. The phone might ring, the doorbell goes, somebody knocks on the door, you bump into a stranger. I don't know, but be ready. Your blessing comes all of a sudden. And then finally, a blessing is often defined as a generous gift. A generous gift, more than enough. And I think what needs to precede the generous gift that is coming your way is your own willingness to be a generous giver. When you are a generous giver, generous gifts come. When you bless, blessings come. And so this word blessing has taken on a whole new meaning for me in preparing for tonight's talk. And I trust that as you've been listening this evening, maybe you've been inspired, maybe you've written some things down, maybe that breakthrough the limitations, the experience, the security of the future, the shift, the imagination, the noteworthiness, the generosity that's coming your way. Maybe you've known all of blessing is coming. And my message to you tonight is that it is. Your blessing is coming. Your day to celebrate is coming. Stand strong. Believe in that message, because when you do, your life could be transformed in an instant. I'm going to be taking a look at your comments this evening. I trust that you have left your comments. Maybe you've, please let us know what part of the country or what part of Africa or what part of the world you are listening in from. We'd really appreciate that. And we love to see you every Wednesday evening. This is not the end of the show. This is only the beginning, because right after the break, we're going to be getting some input from our panel, and I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to share with us tonight. So see you shortly. Hey, Marvin and Henny, what a great time to be alive. And I'm going to just pop your names up on the screen there, just so that our viewers know who's sitting in the dark and who's in the light tonight. Clearly, Henny is sitting in the light. And Marvin, we are all in the light. That's why they can see us. So I'm very excited to have you joining this evening, and what a blessing to have the two of you on tonight's show. So before we talk about this concept of blessing, maybe you can each just briefly introduce yourselves. So Marvin, tell the audience where you're from, what you do, how you got to hear about Map for Life. Marvin, we're not able to hear you, so maybe you need to There we go. There we go.
Thanks, Glenn. My name is Marvin Hawkins. I'm based here in Pretoria. I've been involved in Map for Life for over 9 years now. I got to know about Map for Life through a book that my dad left lying in our library, and I picked it up and I asked my dad what this is about. He kind of explained it to me. I moved to Pretoria a couple of years later, and then attended a talk at the Botanical Gardens in Pretoria, met Glen, and Glen got me hooked, and I've been hooked ever since.
Marvin, I remember that day so clearly when you and Joanne came to that to the Botanical Gardens. It's like burnt into my what would you say, into my brain. I can see the image of you guys arriving there that morning, and just what a wonderful. It's amazing how things start, isn't it? I mean, the first time you meet somebody, you never imagine where that future will lead. And I think we should start doing that. We should start expecting that every new meeting is not just is the beginning of a friendship that could last a lifetime. So welcome. Absolutely. Great to have you tonight, Henny.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, I'm Henny from Roodepoort. Made a very important decision in my life about 3-4 months ago to separate the BM, the before Map for Life, for the IM being in Map for Life. That is a new lifestyle that you take on, and by doing that, you are blessed every day.
I was just taking a look at some of the comments, Henny, and I love this before Map and in Map. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
And I really think that there's a story that we all are, in fact, together. Together we're writing a book, and tonight this show is actually just another chapter in that book. And words are powerful, the words that we share. So I know that what you guys share this evening is going to be inspirational, and I want to also take a moment to welcome the guys who are tuning into this live broadcast. And remember, if you can always watch the recording afterwards. And I would highly recommend that you subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can receive the auto notification so you don't miss any of these shows. I think that'll be very valuable. You know how that works. I don't have to tell you. You probably know better than what I do on how to subscribe and how to ring the notification bell, as they say on all these videos. Marvin, you sitting there right next to me. What was your what inspired you this evening? What is the thing that stands out for you from tonight's talk?
I like what you had said earlier, Glenn, where you spoke about the sight and having clarity of vision, where you can actually see through walls, you can see beyond the present and into the future. That really got me thinking and got me to reflect on how 2022 was for me. And I looked at 2022 thinking about how was I actually going to get through this year? What has this year got in store? And looking back, I remember when planning out at the beginning of 2022, both work-wise and personally, what the plan was, what we wanted to do with the family, what I needed to do. And I look at how I finished. Planning it out, I had to create a vision board, and I had to look at that. And what's great is work has these quarterly reviews where you kind of bring up what you had put on your vision board and did you achieve it, and how you're on track with the next part of the plan. And looking back, I definitely achieved all that I wanted to achieve. Work-wise, I finished quite well in our team, overachieved on our targets, got me a trip to Rome, which was part of the plan. So this year in April, Joanna and I will be heading off to Rome, trip paid for by the company. And I had to see myself in Rome. What's great is the company, as one of our screensavers on the computer, is the show pictures of Rome. So it really helps to have that vision, to kind of see beyond where you're at right now. And while, the year was tough, it had its own little challenges, just like we all have, but you got to keep on looking at that you're aiming for. And you got to keep your eyes focused on that, just so that you don't allow the things that happen in life and life itself to distract you from that you've destined to achieve. And the result of that is my achievement has been a blessing to not just myself, not just our family, but people around us, where I've been able to help those around us financially and in other ways, So the importance of planning and of having vision and keeping it in front of you, in spite of what comes across your path, is super, super important.
I was just for clarity for the people listening in. This is Rome spelled with an R-O-M-E, not R-O-A-M. Just in case, But I do think, jokes aside, I think Master was agreeing with you in terms of clarity of vision. And so when you talked about Rome and I read his comment about clarity of vision, I actually imagined for a moment that we should actually roam around in our vision, literally transport ourselves into the future using our imagination gift that we have, but go beyond simply visualization. Go to a point where you're literally walking through and experiencing the vision that you are busy creating. And so this word roam is going to be used in many contexts in the future. So thanks for sharing it. I think that's a great example of how often we start with almost, maybe to some extent, people start a new year with negative expectations. And sometimes if we don't correct that by putting together a clear vision board, those negative expectations become the vision board, and we manifest what we don't want. And so the vision board enables us to shift away from those negative expectations to a positive outlook, a purposeful outlook, a meaningful outlook. Great example. So thanks for sharing that. I want to just welcome Charles from, Charles says, we're ready for Kenya. Yes, Charles, 24th to 26th of March, we're going to be in Kenya. So if you're listening from Kenya, anybody from Kenya, get ready, because if you're not ready, you're going to miss the opportunity to join us and have an exciting time together. Henny, I'm sure you've got lots of examples, and but perhaps what your highlight from this evening, or a thought that it inspired?
I think I thought about it, and the one thing that makes it clear to me is if I use the following. If I take Map for Life as a lifestyle to be a pot, and I go and put into that pot something like the wonderful talk you had tonight around the blessings. If I go and put into that pot something like you were born for a purpose that this world cannot do without. If I go and put into that pot something like I need to be significant rather than successful, and I start following the recipe as laid out in Map for Life by having a vision board, having a clear purpose of where you're going and what you need to do, I think then blessing becomes not a surprise anymore, but rather a gratitude, because you will get to it. You won't be surprised that you are blessed. And I think for me, the greatest blessing then becomes the ability to bless somebody else. And then I think everything falls into place, and you get up excited every day and you are blessed.
Henny, you've started something. You've started something. I like this idea. I'm trying to look for a pot, but the closest is I've got a beaker of water here. But I was imagining for a moment this. You know, when I was growing up, I'll never forget my uncle's wedding. For those who don't know, I grew up on a farm in the Eastern Cape. Okay, that's the wealthiest province in the country. If you want to get somewhere in life, if you want to have a big dream, the Eastern Cape is where dreamers live. And so I was there, and my uncle was going to get married. And what my grandfather did was, in the main driveway into the property, into the farm, it was a gravel road. He made 3 fires. And on top of these 3 fires were these massive, big, 3-legged black pots. And the one was filled with chicken. Another one had potatoes in it. Another one had something else. And they were cooking all of this food in preparation for the wedding. And so when you talked about this pot, I had this image of almost like would you say a cauldron, this big thing. And I'm interested in Marvin, maybe you got some idea. What are the things that we should be having in this pot? I love the idea of course, Henny was quoting a quote from Map for Life, which is, "You are born for a purpose that the world cannot do without," and the other things that he mentioned. But what do you think should be in this pot? Maybe those listening or online can also give some contribution there. Janine, we're waiting for you to share one of your thoughts of what should be in this pot as well.
I think it's great to have a blank page with a pen, that you and or a pencil actually, maybe, and an eraser, just so that the more you look at something and the more you look for something and the more it becomes clearer in your mind, the better you can actually put it down on paper. Because one of the other quotes that we know in MAP is, if it's not on paper, it's vapor. So writing it down and having it in pencil, so that in fact, that's what I always suggest to my team when we have our sessions, to do stuff in pencil, just because you can always build on it. It's never a finished product. It's never, your vision is never complete. It's always something that's evolving.
So we need to
the
be
more
ready.
clear you-
Inside
need to be
that pot
ready.
should be the tools that we need to develop that vision board.
Absolutely.
I like that. Henny, come on, you got to add something more to this. You can't just drop such a great idea and leave it.
I think, like I said, what goes into the pot is very important, but I think the key part is making sure that what's in the pot is following the recipe that we were given. So if I start looking at the recipe, for me the recipe starts including things like a vision board, and I see Master put down his vision board as well. That makes a big difference. I've got vision boards as well, and I look at them every day. So I've got a morning routine where I need to look at my vision board. And the aim of the vision board is not to see nice pictures. It's actually to use your imagination to see yourself already achieving what you're seeing on screen. And I mean, we've heard a number of examples, and I mean, Vision Master wrote down one, especially there as well, him being onboarding with a multinational company. So I think vision board tied to writing down what Marvin says is very important. But I think the one thing that made the major shift for me, and even though it's part of the recipe, I don't think you can throw enough of it into the pot, with the habits. I need to change to align with where I'm going. And if I'm not going to do that, whatever I'm planning to cook is not what's going to come out as an end result. I need to make sure I put the right ingredients in to get to the right result of what I'm trying to cook right now.
I was just thinking, as you know, you a couple of weeks ago, you talked about the missing puzzle piece. And I think the missing puzzle piece needs to be inside the pot. For those of you who didn't listen to that particular show, it's the realization that you are the missing piece. You know, you look at the unfinished work in front, and it's so easy to point out the missing piece and complain and moan and all those things about it, but maybe you're the missing piece. So inside this pot that's preparing for the blessing needs to be you. And so I was thinking of self-belief, self-confidence, all of these things that are perhaps important. Marvin, I see you agreeing. Maybe you've got some other thoughts that have come to mind.
I think, surrounding yourself with the right sort of friends that are like-minded, that'll keep you, keep you accountable to having the right habits and sticking to doing those habits, as Henny was saying. That's important. So have the right people with you in the pot.
You know, our map club and map cafes that are taking place right now, I've just, and I know each of you are part of map cafes, and Marvin, you've been running a map cafe for many years now. It's such an incredible way to start the day. You're just meeting with other people and having people that have a purposeful outlook. We don't talk about news items. We don't talk about what's going on in the world. We talk about what we're going to make happen in the world. And that for me is a great, such a great way to start the day. And I know that, but I don't have to ask you, but I know that both of you agree with that because you experience it yourself. Just in terms of blessing, maybe there's a specific example that you can relate to or that you've experienced in your own life. Perhaps you would like to share something. Henny, a particular moment that you can remember where you can truly say you recognized a blessing.
This might sound a little bit awkward when I share it right now, but almost 3 years ago, I lost my wife to cancer. And in a big sense, for me, that was a major blessing. And the reason why I'm saying it is because she was fighting it for about 19 months, and it was unbelievable to see how she still cared, how she really wanted to be significant, even though she was in pain, that she always had time for people. And I think we were so busy living life that you never pick it up. But that 19 months was a struggle, but I think it makes you a stronger person. It prepares you for what lies into the future. But I think for me, that was a massive blessing, because I think that was my first realization of the word significance. To see make a difference in people's life. Forget about yourself and make a difference for people. So I think for me, that was one massive blessing, to just get to realize what significance means and what you need to do. And that every day is a blessing by itself. You don't know when your time is over on this earth. So for me, that was a massive blessing to say, be significant every day until it's your last day.
You know, Henny, you've just reminded me of something. And my father passed away in January 2020. And there was something that I saw that I had never seen ever. And it was the way that he engaged with every single person that visited him at a time when he was struggling to speak or to communicate, and how he had a blessing to speak to every single family member, to every friend, to everyone who came in. And I was sitting there and saying, my goodness me, what a way to depart, what a way to leave a memory, what a way to impact other people's lives by speaking a blessing over them. So, you know, thanks for sharing that, because it just took me to a different place. I know that Marvin has also lost his father recently, and you know, so maybe you can also relate. But thanks for sharing that. It just made me reflect on the importance of speaking a blessing over people, and how even in times of what others view as a struggle or difficulty or painful time or whatever, even in that, the person experiencing or going through that process is capable of blessing others and doing good things. And that for me was a great encouragement. Marvin?
Yeah, what I want to encourage people is, don't let circumstances and whatever happens around you deter you from expecting the blessing. I was invited to a young lady's kind of get together where she was telling us how she's been called into the mission, and she told us what she plans to do. I asked her what does she need. She needed a certain amount of money to pay towards the part of the course that she hadn't finished, and I just gladly paid that over. 2 weeks later, our car got stolen. Another 3 weeks later, my grand passed away, which is now 2 weeks ago. Not thinking anything of it. I mean, like I said, life happens. We had the funeral of my grand last week, and there was monies needed, and we had to put money together. Not like I'd already sowed into someone's life, and then this car thing that happens, and then, you know, contributing towards the funeral and that type of thing. And then I get this email from this company to say, hey, you've won a certain amount of money, which was actually 10 times the money I sowed. And I'm talking literally the last 6 weeks, 10 times the money I sowed. And I said to Joanne, this thing feels like a bit of a scam, because I just got this call from this lady. She says, congratulations, you are the winner. And then she said she'll send me an email. And that week, that email didn't come through. And then last week, the email did come through. And they said, send me your bank details, bank letter as proof. And then now Monday, this week, the money got paid in. So, you know, don't discount that blessings still happen in the midst of whatever thing that you're going through, because keep your eye on the blessing and keep your eye on where the blessing comes from, because my help comes from the Lord, not from people, not from anything else, but from him. And despite the negativity, good things still happen because God is still in control.
I think you actually highlighting a very, very important point over here, and that is that we need to we need to give thanks when the blessing comes. And sometimes what I've experienced, Janine, what did she say in the part? You need the right people. The people know. Yeah, thank you. I apologize for not reading these things immediately. It's about. I was talking about being thankful and to acknowledge that the blessings, where the blessings come from. I shouldn't have read, Janine, I shouldn't have read your comment there, because it took my mind in a different direction. Apologies. Marvin, help me, remind me what I was about to say.
Being thankful, being thankful, being grateful, that and being reminded of that.
Yeah, I think the importance is to really focus and acknowledge where that blessing comes from. What I was going to say is in the city I grew up in, it was not uncommon for people to reject blessing. And when I say reject blessing, to feel that they weren't worthy of the blessing. So if somebody wanted to serve them and to do something good for them without any expectation whatsoever, they would say, "Oh, no, I'm fine, thank you very much," and in that way reject the blessing. And I wonder if this is not something that may be keeping some of our viewers this evening, and those who will be watching the recording later, keeping them from experiencing the blessing, is a sense of, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it. And as I'm saying that, this is a common thought, I believe. And what's interesting is, a blessing by definition is something that you don't deserve. When I say goodness and mercy will be with me all the days of my life. But when you think about goodness and mercy, in a strange way, we feel like we don't deserve it, and yet God's grace and his mercy is just showered upon us, and his love constantly. And I think it's time that we started acknowledging where it comes from, because when we do, then it's not about the person who's giving the gift. It's about acknowledging that God's actually presenting this to me. By rejecting the person, you're rejecting God's gift. And so that's just what I began to shift into when you shared that. So thank you. That's a really, really, Henny, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I want to add to that, and I think maybe we did discuss it in a previous talk, but sometimes, and I think Quentin mentioned it in the talk as well here, sometimes we are in the way of allowing people to bless us. So once again, practical. My wife was really sick, and the chemo was really tiring, etc. And there was a lot of people in the community that was volunteering to bring us something to eat, to bring us some food for dinner. And in the beginning, we said, no, we're fine, we'll make something. And then I started realizing I'm actually preventing people to bless me. So in a way, I'm actually a stumbling block, allowing people to bless people, and they want to do it. By me accepting the blessing, I will allow them to bless me as well, and sort of give them a blessing as well by accepting it. Yeah. So practically, back to what you say, that was the one thing. The second thing for me was really, there's a saying that says, count your blessings. And I started this exercise when I go to bed at night, before I close my eyes, to just name 3 things that I was blessed with during the day. And the funny thing is, when you start off, it's difficult to see any blessings. But as soon as you start getting into the mindset of seeing what blessings are, you start realizing that you are blessed during the day, and you don't have to wait for the evening to go to bed to say, well, let's try and find my 3 blessings. You go through emotion saying, yo, I was blessed just now. How can I bless somebody else? Kind of thing. So it's important that you become aware of it and make it part of your thoughts, because then I think it will happen. And as soon as you start blessing people, you will also be blessed.
I was just wondering if the key to our blessing, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, if the key to our blessing is actually in our hand. In other words, our act of blessing someone else out of out of nothing. I heard a story this morning. Kessie in Zimbabwe was sharing in our Map Cafe. She was saying that there was a young man who came for an interview to be a driver at her company, and this young man offered to work for free because he said there's nothing for me to do at home except get depressed. I'd rather work for free over here just to be useful and be of value. And 2 weeks later, after this young man had been working there without an income from them, she discovered that he literally was walking 10 kilometers every day to come and have the opportunity to work. And it's just amazing where out of him blessing their organization, he has been blessed in return now. But I was wondering whether we perhaps are waiting for certain conditions to be met before we bless someone else. And as a result, in the process, we are withholding our blessing. What are your thoughts on that, Marvin?
I think we know the saying it's more blessed to give than to receive. But I think, to Henny's point also, when you've started, and I see that myself, when you start adopting that thing of you being the one that wants to bless, it's tough for you to receive it because, okay, now the table is turned, and now for you to receive, it feels awkward. It feels weird. It's like, okay. And I think that was a great realization for myself during the time now when my grand passed away, and exactly what Henny was saying. Allow people to want to bless. If they want to, don't block it. But also to your point, Glenn, I kind of wondered to myself on Monday after this deposit came in, would that have come in? Was that dependent on me having sowed that 10% of that came in at the time that I did, without thinking, and just, yes, I really believe in what you want to do. So I think it really goes both ways. It's more blessed to give than to receive, but it's also equally a blessing to receive, not just for you, but actually for the other person. I've got another point that I want to make, but I'll just leave it there for now.
I noticed that Janine added something to the pot, and I love what she wrote there because I didn't read it earlier. A dash of courage. I love that. A dash of courage. It sounds like a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, or something. One of those things. Janine, thank you. I love that. And Quentin, of course, is talking about consistency. I think you may have heard somewhere that consistency beats ability. So consistency, diligence. I mean, now the words are starting to come. Henny, your thoughts on this idea of withholding the blessing?
Maybe adding to it differently as well. If you, let's take an example. I think for me, blessing became a realization when you start seeing gratitude in people, and you get that feeling that money cannot buy. Not all of the money in the world will make a difference. Once again, practically, I grew up in Kempton, and we stayed there for a long time, and we went to my parents for Christmas Day every day, and all of brothers and sisters, everybody came together, and then we had lunch at my parents. And we then proposed to say, let's not buy each other presents. Let's keep all the money that we've got, and let's put it together. I'm not going to use the word in a pot. We've got a different pot going here. But let's use that money somehow different, and let's go and buy some food. Now, people that know Kenton Park know there's a lot of homeless people there. There's one specific spot, believe it or not, close to the police station, where there's probably 30 or so people sleeping on pavements, etc. So we sort of started this, call it a tradition, if you like, where before we had lunch, we took all of this, everybody got into cars, and we drove out there to say, let's go bless these people. It's Christmas Day. There's nothing they can do. Let's go and give something from Christmas rather than receiving something. And it is unbelievable. I mean, my kids were very young when we started. They were 6 and 8 years old when we started doing this. And it was just unbelievable how excited they got to just give somebody something. Can I go give? That guy's got nothing. It's my turn. I need to give him. For me, I think that opened a lot of doors, saying, if that is not a blessing, then I don't know what it is. Seeing the gratitude in those people's life, I think without blessing, you are not blessed. You have to bless people, because I think that is the biggest blessing in the world you can receive.
That's good.
Yeah, being being alive is a blessing. Being able to walk is a blessing. Being able to see, even if I have to look through spectacles, maybe it's not a blessing. The blessing is when I'm able to see without my eyes, visualize the future. But I was just, as we've been talking about this, I realized something very significant, and that is, and talking about life. And that is that everybody has probably got a story that was of a life-threatening nature in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you were involved in an accident. Maybe you had a sickness, an illness. Maybe, I don't know. I'm sure we all have stories like that. And there was just a particular story that a personal thing that I thought maybe I would share, because I'd asked each of you, what are your blessings? And I hadn't actually thought about this in this way, but I was just realizing that before my wife and I got married, in fact, before we even got engaged, I already said to her, I said, hey, by the way, if you marry me, you must know there's a strong possibility we won't be able to have children. And then we got married, and we discovered that Anne too was diagnosed with something, and the prognosis, or whatever you call it, was that she would have a very small chance of having children. So we were faced with this dilemma, and in fact we had accepted it. Well, this is the situation. And today we've got 3 incredible children, adults, and not only that, but we also have 2 wonderful. I have a wonderful son-in-law and a wonderful daughter-in-law, and it's just amazing. And just for the first time, as we're talking about this evening, I realized the incredible blessing that you might, or that maybe I didn't quite appreciate 30 years ago when it started. But now, right this minute, as we're talking this evening, I recognize the incredible blessing that we have had. And yeah, so just for all of you who've been through situations, or maybe even been given, sometimes people get those you've got 6 months kind of newscasts, and then we allow that report to accept it and to take it on, and we then work to validate it. I want to say, reject that report. Live life to the full. Live until you die, as John Maxwell's father at the age of 95 with his 10-year plan said to his son. Just keep living. And I think if we change that in itself, by connecting with your purpose and pursuing it with passion, the natural result is going to be that you will be a blessing. And the world is waiting for you to show up and do just that. A last word from each of you. I see the time has run away from us so quickly. I just want, maybe before you guys share your last word, I just want to say thank you so much to the panel this evening. I see it's incredible to have Abel from Uganda joining us tonight. Such a wonderful pleasure to have you with us, Abel. And to everyone else who's joined from Kenya, from Malawi, from South Africa, and all those future people who are going to join us from around the world. Thank you so much for participating in tonight's show. We love to have your interaction. So, Marvin, And Henny, just a last word from each of you before we click the end button. Marvin?
Have an expectant heart. Be expectant. No matter whatever you're feeling right now, no matter how easy it is or how tough it is, still have an expectant heart. And look for an opportunity for you to bless somebody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Henny?
There's a bit of an echo, but it's fine. From my side, I think I want to close. My definition of blessing is giving is the gift that keep on giving. Always remember that. So giving is the gift that keep on giving.
And of course, tonight is about a double blessing, so we need to hear things twice. Thank you so much, guys. Marvin, Henny, this has been a wonderful evening. To all the others, remember, every Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. is a live show. I know that many of you might have other engagements on at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday evening. Don't be alarmed by that. We have a recording. So this show is recorded and it's immediately available on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. So please subscribe. We'll really appreciate that. It'll help us to grow our impact. And of course, to have you joining makes all the difference. Good night, everyone. Good night, Marvin. Good night, Henny.